Welcome to the Cooperative Education panel of the 33rd World Cooperativism Congress, the first to be held in the hybrid format. In this panel, we will learn more about cooperative education and educational cooperativism experiences through the accounts of global managers. On behalf of the World Cooperativism, I would like to have an opening talk on how the idea for us cooperative members worldwide to hold this panel came about. We're complying with the fifth cooperative principle, which is the principle of education. In my opinion, for us to bring change to any process for human beings, we should see how we're going to educate that human being beforehand. And I believe that through that concept and that action, we can change the human being. And then once a human being is changed, they will manifest an improvement in the environment to develop their own rationality. We do not want to think or say that we want short-term results. We know that education begins as a child, and later, through their brain development, they will have more knowledge and will get to the adult age. But we are always educating. We're educating ourselves and taking education to others, which is the educator's work. So we're planting a seed in this panel, and hopefully in the next ACI events, we will have this panel as a fixed panel so we can discuss what we're doing, what the results are, and no longer halt the educational process. So after that, we're going to respond to the requirements for this panel, the questions that will be made and will be addressed. I am at your disposal.
Estou à disposição.
My name is Dae-Jung Kang. I'm a president of National Institute for Lifelong Education in South Korea. Before joining this institute in February this year, I have been working as a professor at the Department of Education at Seoul National University. My major area of research and teaching is lifelong education.
My name is Professor Esther Gichero, and I'm currently working at the Cooperative University of Kenya, and I'm the Deputy Vice Chancellor in charge of Finance Planning and Administration.
Mi nombre es Federico Lee, soy director, decano de la Escuela de Ciencias de la Administración, en la cual desde el año de 1977, que se fundó la Universidad Estatal a Distancia, dentro de sus mandatos estaba el dar la carrera de Administración de Empresas Cooperativas, la cual se ha venido dando con éxito, formando personas profesionales, gerentes, para contribuir al desarrollo del cooperativismo costarricense.
My name is Karen Miner. I'm the Managing Director of the International Center for Cooperative Management at St. Mary's University. I have been engaged in the co-op sector broadly since approximately 2006. My entry into cooperatives was really by serving on boards of directors, joining one co-op in particular on their board in 2006, and that followed on with actually a study tour for me in Emilia-Romagna in Italy. So my curiosity and interest in cooperatives was piqued almost from day one of my engagement with the sector.
My name is Sonja Novkovic. I am the academic director of the International Center for Cooperative Management at St. Mary's University. We're in the Selby School of Business at St. Mary's, and we are running a program on cooperative management.
I am Alsuna Bieva, director of the Russian University of Cooperation, which began its development in 1912 with the Higher School of Organizers of the Cooperative Movement.
Mi nombre es Raúl Colombetti. Actualmente me desempeño como presidente de la Fundación Grupo Sancor Seguros, presidente de Casa Cooperativa de Provisión Sunchales Limitada, que es una entidad que nuclea a cooperativas, mutuales y fundaciones de las ciudades Sunchales y la región. Y desde hace 30 años formo parte activa del Consejo de Administración de Sancor Cooperativa de Seguros Limitada, ocupando diversos cargos.
My name is Dr. Abdurrahman. I am an associate professor of Defense Human Management Department in the local university, National Defense University of Malaysia.
Soy Ainara Udaondo.
I'm Ainara Udaondo. I'm the director of the Institute for Cooperative Studies at the University of Mondragon. It is a real pleasure to be able to be here today with all of you, sharing the reflections that emerge from our practice in the field of cooperative education and how we can promote a stronger cooperative identity through educational strategy. I will try to convey some of our findings that arose from our practice in this area.
I'm Neil Calvert. I'm the CEO and principal of the Cooperative College, which was founded in Manchester in the UK in 1919 as the first educational institution within the cooperative movement. My own trajectory so far is a very short one. My professional background is as an educator, teaching in and then leading schools in the secondary sector and holding non-executive positions in higher education and educational charities, including as Vice Chair of the University of Derby for 11 years. However, although I'm new to the movement, its values and its principles are a very good fit with those I've relied upon throughout my career as an educator.
I'm Sarah Aldred, Head of International Partnerships at the Cooperative College. I've been with the college since 2012, managing our international programmes in the Global South, mainly across Southern Africa. And now I oversee the rich international relationships we've built over the years, alongside building new partnerships. Prior to this, I worked at Coop UK, managing a national local food programme, setting up small-scale cooperatives. So I've now been moving around the cooperative sector for over 12 years. And prior to this, my professional background was the peace movement.
I'm Pete Westall. I'm Chief Values Officer at Mid Counties Co-op. Mid Counties is one of the biggest consumer cooperatives in the UK. We're proud members of the International Co-op Alliance and of Co-ops UK and are run for and on behalf of our 700,000 members. We're a big business. We have 8,000 colleagues and we've got interests in food retail, in utilities, in healthcare and in travel and childcare, which I'll talk about in a second.
I joined this university when it was a middle level college, and I joined as the principal of the college in the year 1988. The college at that time was a small college which had been started in 1967, and it is specialized in diploma and certificate programs. When I joined the college in 1988, as I said, I found it interesting working there, but immediately I realized I had a dream to transform the college into a university. And the dream came about because by this time, the cooperative movement was growing and diversifying. And we realized that the diploma level or cadre of personnel or human resources was not good enough to cater for the needs of the cooperative movement. And so in the year 2005, we started a degree program. And because that time we were not a university, we were just a middle level college, we collaborated with a local university called the Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology. And through that collaboration, we were able to provide the program, but then the certification would come from the university. And in the year 2012, I realized my dream, I must say, of seeing the cooperative college transformed to a university college, a constituent of Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology. It took us another 4 years to get our university chartered as the Cooperative University of Kenya. And now we have the bachelor degree in cooperative management And then we also developed a master's degree in cooperative management. And this year, from this month actually, we have launched a PhD program in cooperative business. It has gone through all the stages of approval in Kenya, and we were now allowed to offer. So it is very exciting because now we are also going to produce scholars and critical thinkers in the field of cooperatives. Yeah, so we have just started that program.
When I was in the university, I have a extension program to work with the local government and the local citizens. And we try to enhance the citizenship among the local leaders. Out of that program, the program is has run about 5 years, and the graduate of that non-formal education program, they form a cooperatives out of this program participation. So I'm a board member of that cooperatives for about 3 or 4 years. When I came to this institute as a president, I came to know that we got a new center from the Ministry of Education on school cooperatives. So in this center, we try to promote a cooperative organization in the elementary and secondary schools. So far we have around more than 100 school cooperatives in Korea. So all of them are we support those cooperatives in South Korean school system. So that's the kind of close relations that our institute has with the cooperative movement in South Korea.
En esta Escuela de Ciencia de Administración y la Universidad Estatal a Distancia hemos venido desarrollando un programa que es de educación gerencial cooperativa en los diferentes proyectos cooperativos y cooperativas que la Universidad Estatal a Distancia atiende desde la unidad de vinculación estudiantil, en la cual la coordina la doctora Montserrat Espinach.
Saludos, les saluda Montserrat.
Greetings, I am Montserrat Espinach Rueda. From the State University, this cooperative management training program promotes the development in communities where the indicators of social progress are the lowest indexes in terms of social, environmental, and economic variables, bringing to these people, citizens and students of the university, a development of soft and managerial skills to learn to work under the model of associations and the development of a business idea that allows them to generate profitability. We work by analyzing the environment of the place where we arrive, and from there, we visualize which of their needs can be an emerging opportunity that unites them in a common good.
In 2012, the International Year of Cooperatives, that's when I joined St. Mary's University in my current role and continue to be involved in various things outside and connected to St. Mary's. I would just mention I'm one of the 2 vice presidents of the board of Cooperatives and Mutuals Canada currently, and that is the member organization tied to the International Cooperative Alliance, and also serve on a credit union board.
I was introduced to the International Cooperative Alliance and the cooperative movement in 2002 when the cooperative sector approached the university to develop and deliver the master's degree for cooperative leadership, right? Cooperative management. So it's been since 2002. And I'm now ending my second term as chair of the International Cooperative Alliance Research Committee that ends in December. And I am also on the board of Cooperative Management Education Cooperative, which is our education co-op that approached the university to develop the programs. I also served on the Council of Cooperative Economists at NCBA Clusa.
Today, the Russian University of Cooperation is a pivotal entrepreneurial university of cooperation which is engaged in the development of the cooperative movement in the era of the digital economy. The Russian University of Cooperation has built a clear system of continuous education, from a cooperative kindergarten to a dissertation council.
La Fundación Grupo Sancor Seguros fue constituida en el año 2007 en Sunchales por iniciativa de Sancor Seguros, cooperativa de 75 años de trayectoria que le diera origen a la fundación. con el fin de propiciar la formación cooperativa y vial en las escuelas de nuestro país y de la región, como así también desarrollar los ejes de cuidado del ambiente, higiene, salud ocupacional y desarrollo agropecuario. Todos los programas, proyectos e ideas que ponemos en práctica son orientados a alumnos, docentes, capacitadores, instituciones, asegurados de la cooperativa, productores, asesores de seguro, fundaciones, ONG y demás entidades de la economía social, siempre poniendo el foco en los procesos de enseñanza, aprendizaje y el reconocimiento al valor de la educación cooperativa. Actualmente, la Fundación apadrina a 94 cooperativas escolares, a la Federación de Cooperativas Escolares, y sus programas educativos alcanzan a 4.000 docentes e impactan sobre 40.000 alumnos, permitiendo difundir el movimiento cooperativo. A escala internacional, este programa, propuesto por Fundación Grupo Sancor Seguros y Casa Cooperativa, es difundido y replicado en otros países como Brasil, que ya cuenta con aproximadamente 130 cooperativas escolares, también en Uruguay y Paraguay.
My involvement in Malaysian National Cooperative Movement is called ANCASA, being the Vice Chairman of Human Resource Development Committee since 2016 in International Cooperative Alliance, ICA, Asia Pacific Regional. I'm also Director General of Institute Cooperative of Malaysia. I was there in 2014 until 2018. Institute Cooperative of Malaysia is the only one education institution offering human capital and entrepreneurial courses for whole Malaysia with 6 branches and also provide the free of training courses to cooperative movement. ANCASA consists of 11,320 cooperatives which we combine, and the member of 6.2 millions which under this national movement, cooperative movement, and government recognize us as the apex institution of cooperative movement, so that we also representative for our almost 12,000 cooperatives. And I'm also one of the cooperative member as a chairman of cooperative university, Defense University. I'm the chairman of Defense University Cooperative, and as a member in ANCASA and elected in year 2019 as a vice president. We joined ICA in 1972, since 1972, and we one of the active member in ICA, and we almost every year we support not only some funding and also program with ICA.
No cooperativismo, naturalmente, eu comecei pela medicina. Nós aqui no Brasil temos uma cooperativa muito importante, que é o Sistema Unimed, onde em 1985 eu tornei-me cooperado. E a partir daí, alguns anos depois, eu já entrei na nossa cooperativa como conselheiro fiscal. Depois, já fui da diretoria da Unimed e depois fui o fundador da Unimed Federação, que é uma cooperativa de segundo grau, já congregando 7 cooperativas médicas do sistema Unimed. Foi criado em 1998 o SESCOP, o Serviço Nacional de Aprendizagem no Cooperativismo. E aí eu fui convidado para representar o ramo saúde na organização das cooperativas brasileiras em Mato Grosso. Foi aí que eu comecei e estou até hoje como presidente dessa organização. Mas, naturalmente, antes disso, eu já trabalhava nas Unimed, na nossa Unimed Cuiabá, comitê educativo. Então, nós introduzimos no nosso estatuto esse comitê educativo. A partir daí que eu entrei na educação. E o ano de 2000 foi importantíssimo, porque nós fizemos a primeira visita a uma universidade cooperativa, que é em Mondragón, no País Basco, na Espanha. Quando lá cheguei, fiz as minhas reflexões e achei o ponto de explosão. É através da educação que o cooperativismo irá crescer. Como pessoas envolvidas, como cooperado e até na comunidade, que é muito importante onde nós estamos inseridos.
I belong to the University of Mondragón, which today is one of the almost 100 cooperatives that make up the Mondragón Cooperative Network. Therefore, our trajectory is closely linked to the development and evolution of Mondragón cooperative movement, and also, I believe, to the way of understanding cooperative education within our cooperative movement. Today, the Consumer Corporation of Ukraine represents about 2,000 consumer societies, which, in accordance with the law of Ukraine on consumer cooperation, are united on the principles of voluntary membership, democracy, social justice, mutual assistance, and cooperation, as well as free management in local consumer unions and the Ukrainian Central Union of Consumer Societies, Cooperative, which is an association of its members by its nature. The Consumer Corporation of Ukraine has its own logo, Coop Ukraine, which is used by all members of Cooperative and which identifies Consumer Cooperation of Ukraine at the international level among the world's cooperative organizations. Consumer Cooperation of Ukraine is a full member of the Global Cooperative Movement and a member of the International Cooperative Alliance, ICA, and its sectoral and regional organizations. Consumer Cooperatives Worldwide, CCW, Cooperatives Europe, and the European Community of Consumer Cooperatives, EuroCop. The educational network of Cooperative includes 2 universities, Cooperative Higher Education Institution, Poltava University of Economics and Trade, and Lviv University of Trade and Economics. 2 institutions, Vinnytsia Cooperative Institute and Khmelnytsky Cooperative Trade and Economic Institute. 19 professional colleges. Training of specialists with higher education is carried out in our universities and institutes according to the relevant educational programs at different levels of higher education. Initial level, short cycle, first level, bachelor's, second level, master's, third level, educational and scientific. Colleges provide training for junior bachelors. Cooperative educational institutions train specialists of different levels majoring in entrepreneurship, trade and exchange activities, hotel and restaurant business, law, finance, banking and insurance, management, accounting and taxation, tourism, food technologies, among others. Universities have specialized scientific councils for the defense of theses for the degrees of Doctor of Philosophy and Doctor of Science. Postgraduate and doctoral programs function effectively. 76 doctors of sciences and professors, together with 350 doctors of philosophy and associate professors, provide the educational process in cooperative educational institutions. Over 80% of college teachers have the highest qualification category and pedagogical title, teacher methodologist. Cooperative systematically and successfully implements the principles of graded higher education. Universities and institutes enroll college graduates to continue their studies according to integrated curricula, short-term, and their share is over 50% of the number of bachelor students. This is facilitated by the activities of the educational complexes Academy and Education, where all cooperative educational institutions were included. Training and Methodological Center UCOOPOSVITA and the Board of Rectors and Directors of Higher Education Institutions of Consumer Corporation of Ukraine coordinate scientific and methodological activities of educational institutions. The priority areas of their work are substantiation of the goals and values of cooperative education, development of advanced teaching technologies, educational and methodological support, informatization and computerization of the educational process. Educational institutions using modern material and technical facilities with a developed infrastructure, which is intensively renewed and strengthened. This provides a higher level of education process, allows arranging research and development, solving urgent social problems. Lecture halls, study rooms, laboratories are equipped with modern educational equipment, multimedia complexes. For the purpose of scientific and professional growth of gifted students, student Olympiads are held based on the results of research work, as well as research and practical conferences, and review competitions for the best research work of students are organized. Today, the number of students of cooperative educational institutions is 19,000 people. Ukra-Kopspilka promotes international cooperation of higher education institutions. Our universities are members of prestigious international education and research organizations. Thus, in 2009, Poltava University of Economics and Trade was admitted to the Grand Charter of Universities of Europe and the world. Educational institutions, students, researchers, and educators participate in international projects and programs that provide opportunities for long-term training or internships at foreign universities or attending educational courses from their leading teachers at their university. Cooperation with the EU Erasmus Plus program is especially effective. Mutually beneficial international relations for research on the development of the cooperative movement are being developed. Scientific, methodical, scientific and practical conferences, seminars, training, exhibitions, presentations, roundtables on cooperative topics are held. To implement exchange programs, cooperative universities are moving to the curricula and educational programs of world leaders in the training of specialists in similar special fields. Today, foreign students, 183 people from 20 countries, study at cooperative universities. Previous years, over 300 people studied before the coronavirus pandemic. Evidence of the quality of cooperative education is the recognition of graduates of higher education institutions of Ukra-Kopspilka in the labor market and their successful career growth as professionals.
My institute is, in its name, we have an aim to promote lifelong education among the Korean people, and we try to set up a alternative system other than the school system in Korea. So lifelong education in Korea is relatively new. My institute began its journey to promote lifelong education in Korea in 2008. So it's been 13 years so far. We try to promote different education in many areas of Korean society. Especially the non-formal education is the foremost interest of my institute. And school cooperatives, part of them is inside the formal curriculum in the school system. That's the ICA has been tried to do in many countries. In South Korea, we try to incorporate the social economy or the cooperative movement in the formal curriculum of the school. But in many cases, it's kind of a non-formal effort. So extracurricular effort has been made in South Korea. So my organization's promoting of the extracurricular in the school system about the cooperative movement has been as the main focus of the effort. So in South Korea, there are 17 superintendents the Office of Regional Education. So there are 17 areas. So we have a very close relations with the 17 local office of the school system. Those are 146 school cooperatives so far in South Korea. So we work very closely with the Office of Education in the local area, so that we provide the leadership training for the school teachers who are in charge of their school cooperatives. And we also provide the information how to set up a new school cooperatives in the school. And we also has information sharing among the 146 school cooperatives. We manage a website that is solely dedicated to the school cooperatives movement in South Korea. And we also collect the best practices out of the school cooperatives, and we give them some special award from the Ministry of Education, from the government, so that we try to promote the benefit that the school cooperatives to the school itself, also the communities around the school.
Desde la Universidad Estatal a Distancia formamos líderes comunales desde el cooperativismo. Líderes que no los abandonamos, normalmente llega un emprendimiento, se llega, los dan y los dejan. No, nosotros les damos un acompañamiento de hasta por 6 años, en donde lo principal les enseñamos lo que es los principios cooperativos, la filosofía cooperativa y para mí lo más primordial es la gerencia cooperativa. ¿Qué es gerencia cooperativa? Tratar de que la cooperativa sea eficiente, eficaz, pero respetando siempre el medio ambiente y por supuesto el ser humano. Es lo que nos diferencia de las grandes transnacionales, esa humanidad que distingue al cooperativismo. Por eso esperamos que estos líderes sean el punto medular para que empiece a cambiar la economía, al menos en Costa Rica. Para nosotros es un placer contribuir a la comunidad costarricense y a la comunidad internacional. Parte de lo que hemos venido haciendo lo vamos a ver a continuación con los diferentes testimonios de nuestros estudiantes gerentes de estas cooperativas, de lo cual hemos estado haciendo.
Copesustarco les beneficiará directamente a más de 23 familias, indirectamente beneficiará a la comunidad, al ambiente y a múltiples vecinos más.
Bueno, al principio de que empezó la cooperativa, se oyeron los rumores de que iba a ser para beneficio aquí de la zona del Valle de la Estrella. Hemos recibido realmente el apoyo de la UNED, de lo poco que conozco de la UNED, que ha sido de gran motivación para nosotros. Ya hemos estado luchando por sacar esto adelante y no nos han dejado solos.
The idea of this cooperation that UNED is giving us is to further strengthen the project that we are carrying out and to see how we can achieve the goals we have set ourselves. It has allowed me to emerge. It has allowed me to be an example, I hope, for other women who feel that we really are a cooperative that is made to move forward. Regardless of whether you're a woman or a man or whatever you develop, you can always count on us.
La UNED vio los potenciales que tenía esta cooperativa y nos volvió otra vez a replantear, a reformular el proyecto que originalmente habíamos propuesto. Y con asesores de altísima calidad hemos venido caminando hasta tener ya un proyecto consolidado, ya esclarecido y con todos los factores que pueden definirla como una organización que va hacia el éxito.
Excelente, porque hemos aprendido.
This is great because we have learned a lot about entrepreneurship. We have learned how to work in a team, in a group, and the financial part, how to manage the company.
La parte financiera, cómo manejar.
El proceso ha sido muy sustancioso para nosotros como estudiantes, que somos un enlace entre comunidad y universidad, ¿verdad? Creo que las capacitaciones que ha venido dando la ECA ha permitido que muchos productores que estaban quizás dudando de su producto, que tenga una venta, por decirlo así, vayan conociendo ciertas cosas, se vayan empoderando con las capacitaciones y pues gracias a Dios hoy pudimos hacer la exposición que me imagino que la van a presentar y vemos que ese proceso que hemos llevado casi que durante un año ha sido muy productivo.
Well, let's focus on what we do at St. Mary's University. So again, the International Center for Cooperative Management is a center located within a business school within a university. And it was brought to the university in the early 2000s, so about 20 years ago, by the cooperative sector in terms of a need for more education focused on cooperative enterprise model for leaders in the cooperative sector. So that has developed, starting with an online part-time master's program, but now into much more. Everything we do, we take an international perspective, hence the name of the center. We come at it with an interest in a multi-sector perspective. So we're not just looking at credit unions or not just through an agricultural lens. We really are curious and interested in the diversity across the cooperative movement and how cooperatives can and are used in all parts of the economy and society globally, and therefore all member types of co-ops, producer, worker, consumer, multi-stakeholder. So that is our perspective that we bring through the center in trying to develop programming that's both education and based on research and doing research to help educate and improve leaders in cooperatives, those both being those in management type roles and or governance.
We find that our educational programs benefit the cooperative sector because they're professional programs. Everybody involved is engaged in cooperatives, either working there or being board members or being managers and leaders, current or future. But it's also that our content benefits from such close connection to the sector. So the cooperative leaders and thinkers are actually contributing content, not only teaching each other what they do in different sectors in different countries, but also providing content for us, the faculty, who are actually learning as much from our students as they are from us. So it's really this engaging professional leaders in cooperatives and academia that we actually move our agenda forward, both on education and on research.
Historically, the college was the place for cooperative leaders and their staff to engage in professional learning, to support them in their roles, and to deepen their understanding of the movement, its values and principles. Up until the 1990s, we provided and hosted residential courses in our own premises. We still work very closely with co-ops in the UK and abroad to develop and deliver programs of cooperative learning to meet the needs of their boards, employees and members, although nowadays this takes place through a blended model of face-to-face and online learning. We also work extensively with communities to support the development of cooperative values and behaviours in learners who will become the cooperators of the future. In particular, our project work in the UK focuses on supporting disadvantaged young people and those from marginalised communities by engaging them in practical, values-led activities to demonstrate how cooperation can provide a mutually supportive means of addressing inequality of opportunity. For example, our Cooperative Adventure programme, where we work in partnership with school-based staff, enables young people with learning disabilities to gain crucial life skills to support their preparation for adult life by setting up their own cooperative. We also work extensively overseas, particularly on projects supporting cooperators in the Global South, through a programme of international cooperative development which both supports and develops their understanding of the wider movement and provide practical strategies to help them develop their businesses. No matter whether it takes place sitting under a tree, in a school classroom, at a university lecture or through an online medium, the learning we lead is all rooted in the principles and values.
And the system of the cooperative education of the Soyuz of the Russian Federation, the leading positions are occupied by the Russian University of Cooperation, which will celebrate its 110th anniversary next year. All our three universities of consumer cooperation originated on the basis of the Russian University of Cooperation, which is engaged in the real development of cooperation in the regions. Today, the university implements more than 700 educational programs. Of these, half are basic and half are the programs of additional professional education. 80% of all cooperators in Russia were educated at the Russian University of Cooperation. Nowadays, on the basis of Russian University of Cooperation, we're created a network of research centers for the development of cooperation in the regions of the university's presence. Our centers perform the following important tasks: to monitor the directions of regional development in the field of cooperation, to organize platforms for public and expert discussions in the field of cooperation. As part of the work of these centers, together with the Ministry of Agriculture, Federal Corporation for the Development of Small and Medium Enterprises, the training was conducted for Russian cooperators, and a lot of work is being done to develop rural areas. In the interests of developing cooperation in the regions of the Russian Federation, the university develops development programs, strategies, roadmaps for the development of cooperation in the region. Russian University of Cooperation today acts as an institution for the practical development of cooperation. It engaged in a strategy for the development of small businesses in the format of cooperative clusters and new forms of cooperation in the context of digital transformation. Over the past 3 years, we have created 70 cooperatives.
Los líderes se benefician mediante la capacitación de todos los miembros del conjunto cooperativo, que a su vez constituyen la comunidad. Desde nuestra fundación, conjuntamente con su Instituto Cooperativo de Enseñanza Superior, que brinda educación secundaria, superior y universitaria, brindamos carreras, seminarios, cursos, charlas de educación cooperativa, conferencias, campañas de idea, donde los alumnos participan democráticamente, generando propuestas que contribuyen e impactan a nivel social. Justamente los niveles superior y universitario del ICES, nuestro instituto, llevan adelante un programa de cátedras abiertas y transversales sobre el cooperativismo, con una cátedra abierta de cooperativismo, mutualismo y economía social que se dicta en forma transversal en toda la oferta académica del instituto. Sin embargo, para generar un beneficio a escala social, entendemos que la educación no solo debe abordarse desde un punto de vista exclusivamente académico, sino que los aprendizajes deben ser también adquiridos desde la práctica y la cotidianidad. Es decir, es indispensable contar con una gestión empresarial eficiente y a la vez totalmente consustanciada con el objetivo específico de solidaridad que nos distingue como entidades de la economía social. De todas formas, lo cierto es que sin pretender resolver todas las desigualdades sociales desde las cooperativas, es válido aspirar a un sector cooperativo eficiente, firme, ágil, que sea expresión de la economía social y convoque a qué sectores cada vez más amplios pueden venir a nutrirse de esa experiencia. Claro está que no se va a poder demostrar las bondades de la economía social si no es capaz de hacerla realidad. En esa dupla teoría-práctica está el desafío que se le presenta al movimiento cooperativo para prosperar y beneficiar a los pueblos. Y en esta dirección, desde el año 1929, trabajamos para ir alcanzando este reto.
In Ankasa, we have our departments, and for your information, we have 725 staff in whole country. In our HQ, almost we have 350, and from that we encourage our staff to do their further study until PhD, and yet we provide them some scholar to make themselves more competent, so that we have our department of leadership, department of human capital, department of entrepreneur, and in the whole year almost 300 free training courses and upskilling business courses for our cooperative member. Grateful as the government recognize us to do some courses to the Ministry of Education among the school cooperative. So we get the green lane from the government, the Ministry of Education. We take this opportunity to enhance the education. And also in Ankasa, National Cooperative Movement, we strategize different high-value economic sector. Just now, department is more concentrated on education. On the finance sector, we also give some courses and some spotlights, collaborate among the cooperative, credit cooperative. And as we know that credit cooperative, one of the achieved cooperative in whole world. And also we have sector of innovation and technology is focusing on digitalization, and we have a whole sale and retail sector. We have the plantation sector, tourism, and personal care and health sector, community development sector, property building sector, and agriculture-based industry sector. Why? Because our member consists of 11,250 cooperative, which are different type of their business. So we come up with this sector so that we can play an important role, and yet since we has been recognized by our government to be only one apex cooperative, there will be a new paradigm in Malaysia coming soon. We were having a federation from the APEC. Since, as you know, some of development country, they have a federation. We do have a consortium. Consortium is only some consist of 2-3 cooperatives, but now we can, our government encourage us, the Malaysian cooperatives, not only one APEC, but from that sector we come up with federation. Okay, federation sector of plantation. So we can have a mentor-mentee method. The big scale cooperative, the plantation cooperatives, they may help the small scale cooperative do the nursery, do the transportation, do the labor job, and that's we try to play an important role coming year. Because this year is a stage of, we come up with the early stage. By next year we will officialize the movement by having a federation, and yet all of this federation also will play an important role to the apex, to the Angkasa.
We have reached a peak, which is to have a cooperativism university, which is called I.COP, the Cooperativism University for the OCP system in Mato Grosso. We are brand new, and we had experiences both from Mondragon and Canada, and also from our Brazilian universities that work with cooperativism, and we also learned from 2 more universities that came before us in Rio Grande do Sul, ESCOP, and the Unimatch system. So we are in the 4th year now. We are doing cooperation and education. We have graduate courses, undergraduate courses, and extension courses. And now, with the consortium and this panel, we are breaking out of Mato Grosso's borders, and we are reaching Brazil and the world. Hopefully, in the future, we are going to be in Brazil, along with other universities, the Brazilian University of Cooperativism. It is certainly going to be based in the Brazilian capital.
Ese es un poco el punto de partida, ¿no?
That's kind of the starting point, and from our organization, from the University of Mondragon, what do we do? What strategies do we carry out in the field of cooperative education? I would say, first of all, that we have integrated it a little bit in our mission, because we are a cooperative, and because we are a cooperative in terms of governance, and we have integrated different agents in the university bodies. There are the working members, there are also the students who are user members of our cooperative, and thirdly, the cooperative companies themselves are members. So this gives us an interesting starting point to be able to experiment the idea and the cooperative proposal. But well, I would say that beyond having it integrated in the way of being, we also have it integrated in the way of doing it. And in this way of doing it, I would also like to differentiate 2 main lines. On the one hand, what we do with the young people, especially through the degrees, and on the other hand, what we do from the university in accompanying the training of professionals in the field of cooperatives, and in particular in our case, with our cooperative movement and with the cooperatives that are a part of a group. I think these are 2 ways in which we have internalized cooperative education. In the first line, in what we do with the degrees, with our students, the University of Mondragon has a pedagogical project called Mendeberri. Mendeberri in Basque means new century. And what the Mendeberry project promotes is, in the end, to put the person at the center, and in this case, to put the student at the center of the learning process. And it also has a holistic approach in the sense that it aims to develop or help develop our students from a professional point of view, but also from a personal point of view. A holistic approach to education. In this sense, the professional traits that we develop with the students depend on the specificity of each grade, but we have determined a series of personal signs or marks that we want to leave to our students in terms of the impact we want to have on their personal traits. These personal traits are common to any degree within Mondragon University. What are they? The first one is that we want to be cooperative. Secondly, creative and transformative, critical and analytical, lifelong learners with a global outlook, resilient and conscious and committed. So as you can see, we have defined in our own personal traits this idea of cooperative identity. This is then transferred to each of the grades through different curricular elements and is worked on throughout the training cycle. But I would like to emphasize in this sense that the close collaboration we have with the cooperative enterprises of the environment is of great interest to us. It seems to us that apart from what we can do through different curricular elements, this company experience, and in our case, that of a cooperative company, is fundamental when it comes to bringing our young people closer to the cooperative reality. And from there, we understand that the internships, the final projects, even the methodology based on real challenges proposed by our cooperatives are very interesting elements that allow us to combine what we study in the classroom with the real practice that takes place in our cooperatives. So, well, I believe that cooperatives have a very important role to play today in terms of providing elements to make learning with students more fruitful. But well, as I said at the beginning, on the one hand there are the degrees, what we can do with young people and the impact we have in global terms in the community. But on the other hand, we also believe that the university has a very important role in accompanying the cooperatives themselves in cooperative education processes. We have a business logic that is inherent to any type of enterprise, in which we have to take care of. But we are also a different way of doing business, and we have a series of specific values integrated in our way of doing business. Values such as democracy, social transformation, intercooperation, solidarity, and it seems to us that cooperative education is a fundamental lever to be able to shape solid cooperative projects in the business area, but also solid in the cooperative area. I think that's important, isn't it?
Que eso es importante, ¿no?
Яку ж користь отримують керівники кооперативів?
For many years, educational programs and trainings for managers of consumer cooperation from different regions of Ukraine have been implemented based on the universities. University scientists are regular speakers at educational events, seminars for heads of regional and district unions, meetings of rectors and directors of cooperative higher education institutions, roundtables, trainings, refresher courses for consumer cooperatives staff, etc., arranged by Ukrakopspilka. The teaching staff of the universities is widely involved in the development of draft laws of Ukraine, strategies, concepts, and other programs documents for the development of the system of consumer cooperation and certain areas of its activities. Leaders of cooperative organizations are stakeholders who are involved in improving the educational process in educational institutions. In particular, they review educational programs and provide up-to-date, practice-oriented recommendations for adjusting their content in accordance with the real requirements of the labor market. Educational institutions are useful for leaders of cooperatives and the community in education. Obtaining quality European education in modern educational programs implemented in bachelor's and master's programs. Gaining opportunities for lifelong learning. Local communities benefit from the activities of cooperative education institutions towards educational development. Educational institutions are suppliers of highly qualified personnel for local businesses, and the system of consumer cooperation, public administration, and self-government bodies, state and non-state institutions. Educational institutions establish a system of mutual consultations with leading enterprises in the region, including cooperatives, on the development of a variable component of educational programs that would take into account the demands of potential employers on the qualifications and competencies of young professionals. Educational institutions hold regular consultations with local governments in the field of education and provide recommendations for the development and improvement of the educational process at the local and national levels. Educational institutions conduct trainings on gaining new knowledge in business, marketing, investment, international business, project management, business in the fields of economics, finance, management, procurement, law, IT, in the fields of activity, food safety. Educational institutions, together with local employment funds, conduct training courses for advanced training and mastering new specialties for the temporarily unemployed people. All opportunities for unimpeded education of persons with disabilities are created in educational institutions. The board of Ukrakopsduka and regional unions, educational institutions support gifted youth by providing scholarships to cover tuition fees.
Особами інвалідністю.
Whatever program you come to do in the Cooperative University of Kenya, you must go through a unit in cooperative philosophy. So that way, we now have everybody in the university at least having a general knowledge of what cooperatives are about. So somebody who do not go through the cooperative university come out and they don't know how a cooperative works. That way, we ensure that we give the right competences, the knowledge and skills, and also attitude necessary to promote cooperatives.
It seems to us that the educational key is fundamental at the time of constituting any cooperative project. From the foundational point of view, the origins of our cooperative experience, we look at Arismendi Arrieta's thinking. We can see that social transformation was conceived through a combination of two elements. On the one hand, we must reform the structures of our society, and that was achieved by transforming the structures of enterprises into cooperative enterprises. But on the other hand, this social transformation was not conceived. The transformation of people, a transformation of consciences, and therefore the generation of cooperative people. From this point of view, we can see that the educational key is fundamental in any process of constitution of a cooperative model.
We see young people who have values that are aligned with cooperative values, thinking what kind of business they can start, and information is not readily available. Not only do education programs not cover cooperatives, but also regulators and information sharing is not readily available with the cooperative model. So we often hear people who are values aligned and who are thinking, what kind of a business could we choose if we want to drive sustainability agenda forward? They stumble upon the cooperative model. It's not at their fingertips. So they have to really dig and find out about it. So the cooperatives are missing in the education in general. And I think it is for the cooperative movement, it's critically important to broaden the scope and reach more people, but also to actually educate cooperative leaders themselves how to run cooperatives according to those values and principles and the statement of the cooperative identity.
I just wanted to quote a line that jumped out at me from the Congress discussion paper that's put forward for consideration now and through the consultations that are happening on the statement on the cooperative identity. And it states that the predominance of other business models in business education makes it even more vital to promote the cooperative business model through education. I think that really sums it up well. And often when we're talking about the statement on cooperative identity, we might have a biased opinion, but feel that Principle 5, education, training, and information, needs more attention by the cooperative sector and to help address that quoted line from the discussion paper. And as had been said, it's the necessity of workers, managers, board members of how to understand and how to use the model, and that education really focused on that there isn't enough of it, more of it is needed, and the cooperative sector as a whole needs to play a strong role in ensuring that we have enough so that we can maintain cooperatives that are strongly aligned with the ICA identity statement.
The Russian University of Cooperation has been carrying out a scientific and educational process of a cooperative orientation for more than 110 years. We form a cooperative ideology, carry out the promotion of cooperative knowledge among students, school children, organize educational work through excursions to cooperative organizations, study the history of development of the cooperative movement. We ensure a close connection between the educational process and the practice of cooperative activities. Not only our students undergo internships in cooperative organizations, but also create cooperatives themselves.
Prior to the formation of the Cooperative College in 1919, its founders agreed a statement 5 years earlier which says, "The Cooperative College should create a burning desire for social justice, inspire a willingness to work for it and provide the knowledge on how best to attain it. Our aim is to provide education in its widest sense, an education for the highest purposes of life." So we work for the common good, and from then to today we believe cooperative education plays a key role in shaping people, the economy, the environment and society at large. At the college, the philosophy behind our education is that firstly, cooperative education is instructional, it's experiential, it's holistic, it's tacit and it's embodied. Secondly, learning and knowledge creation are embedded within both the making and the practice of cooperatives. Thirdly, as you learn to do cooperation, you learn to be a cooperator. Learn to know the world and to cooperate to live together through a set of values and principles. And fourthly, it builds upon a tradition of innovation and distinctiveness and could be the defining educational paradigm of the coming age. So recent examples of the college being at the heart of using education to shape young people's lives, their identity, include the European-funded Youth Cooperative Entrepreneurship Programme, UCOOP, bringing together multiple organisations to develop interactive and engaged curriculums to teach teachers in secondary schools and universities about cooperatives, cooperative ways of teaching and learning, so to inspire young people to be cooperators for the future.
Education is a big thing for us. Education of our members, education of our colleagues, but crucially, education of future and potential new members. Our childcare group is made up of 47 nurseries. Those nurseries are headed by Sally Bonner, our Chief Operating Officer, and Sally's going to talk to you now about quite why we at Mid-Counties and we in the UK are so pleased and so proud with cooperative childcare, part of Mid-Counties Cooperative. Sally, over to you.
Hi, I'm Sally. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for Little Pioneers Co-op Childcare, and I am a passionate advocate for the early years education and understand the contribution that children can make to a better, fairer world. The UK childcare industry has over 15,000 settings and offers childcare in the region of 750,000 children. We operate 46 nurseries across England, serving a variety of communities and partnerships, nurturing nearly 5,000 children and 1,300 colleagues every week. As the Chief Operating Officer, I have the responsibility for our overall strategic purpose, but just as importantly, I make sure that our cooperative values are at the heart of all the decisions that we make. We are proud to offer childcare with a real difference, where our families can trust us to go above and beyond, where we will be doing the best we can, not just for our children, but for our families and communities too. Children are listened to in our nurseries. Their views are valued through everyday interactions, but we also encourage structured time during children's council meetings. Enriched learning comes from exciting experiences, and I will give you a couple of examples of what we offer. Our intergenerational care programme encourages children and elderly residents to come together and take part in activities. This connection of our wisest and our youngest has proven to have a significant impact on both generations. As well as nurturing minds, we nourish tummies. Children are much better eaters when they're involved. That's why we teach them about where the food they eat comes from, including letting them take responsibility for growing areas in our gardens. 100% of our practitioners are fully trained in paediatric first aid and are confident in delivering first aid, meaning that we are proud owners of the Millie's Mark accreditation. Emergency paediatric first aid workshops are hosted for our families, and on top of that, we teach our little ones the basics of what to do in an emergency in our mini medics sessions. We believe that nurseries are more important than ever and are the foundations of the future, and we cherish the role we play in shaping the society for tomorrow. Our own little pioneers, Ping, Ebo, Alice, Charlie and Ella, help bring them to life and are used to underpin messaging that children can relate to. Ping believes in being open and honest about how you're feeling and expressing it in a positive way. Ebo believes that we have a responsibility to look after each other and the world. Alice believes that everyone should be treated equally and respected for their individuality. Charlie believes that when everyone works together, it is more fun. Ella believes that everyone should have their say. We want to further strengthen our cooperative identity by giving greater accessibility to our distinct service to more families through our own growth agenda, which, all things being well, will see us operating in the region of 100 nurseries across different communities by 2026.
It comes back again to Principle 5, education of current cooperators and future cooperators. You'll have heard Sally talk about our little pioneers. She's talked about democracy, about openness, about equality, and about social responsibility. Those are the values that it is essential UK government, and I guess governments across the world, put at the heart of their thinking. How do we help educate people about the benefits of cooperation? In the UK, we work with our friends at Cooperative UK, at Co-op College, and of course at Co-op Party. We also deal with politicians across the political spectrum to make sure that cooperative education is firmly and center in their thoughts.
Considero que la educación ofrece una gran posibilidad para fortalecer la identidad cooperativa. La interrelación con las personas, educadores, educando, es fundamental para poder transmitir los valores que hacen a la identidad. Para ello, en el ICES se dictan carreras de cooperativismo y en las escuelas secundarias y primarias, especiales y rurales de todos Sunchales, los docentes guías a través de las cooperativas escolares transmiten los conocimientos en materia de cooperativismo. Es preciso indicar que estos formadores han sido capacitados en la materia y son acompañados a través del programa de padrinazgo de cooperativas escolares que lleva adelante la Fundación y Casa Cooperativa. Jean Piaget ha dicho que se aprende cuando uno se detiene a pensar. No es suficiente con incorporar conocimientos, es necesario elaborarlos. Debería pensarse así, en la construcción colectiva del conocimiento, en una relación pedagógica donde el que aprende enseña y el que enseña aprende. Esta es la lógica del cooperativismo escolar, donde en el mismo proceso los alumnos y docentes guías van aprendiendo y construyendo la identidad de un ser humano solidario.
For the Cooperative University of Kenya, it is a public university. So when it is a public university, it means that it's financed by the government. Probably not fully, because we also know that governments in many countries and in our country, they have meager resources. So they still encourage us to also find ways of raising our own income. But generally, we are funded to a substantial amount by the government of Kenya. And because of that, we are now able to, to bring in income in other areas. Say, for example, if the government gives us funds to pay for the staff, then we are able to generate income for our operational expenses. And that way we have been teaming up with the government to produce the kind of well-qualified and high-quality personnel for the cooperative movement. Now, in Kenya also, what happens, the cooperative movement itself also is involved in the education and training, and especially for the shorter programs, not necessarily at the university level. And they provide the budget every year when we go to the annual general meetings of our cooperatives. we pass a budget for training. And we have been able to educate our cooperatives to know that education and training is very crucial, so they provide budget for it. And that has been happening. So these cooperatives, when they provide the budget, they can invite the university to run some programs based on their needs. So they'll identify their needs, but because they don't have the trainers, they can come to the university and the university provides the training for them. And then they pay the university some stipend, at least to compensate for the lecturers and trainers who go to train for them. Then, according to our structure, those are primary cooperatives, but our structure is a four-tier structure, where we have the primary cooperatives, and these affiliate to form secondary cooperatives, and the secondary cooperatives also affiliate to form the tertiary cooperatives, which we call the national cooperative organizations in Kenya. Now, those secondary and especially the tertiary cooperatives, they also have big budgets for training and educating their member organizations. Say, for example, if it is savings and credit, which are you call them credit unions in your country. So if it's the credit unions, they have their apex organization. And through this apex organization, they budget, they train the cooperative leaders, the managers and staff of these cooperatives, that's the employees, and also the members. And so that way, you have more than one organization involved in the training. Now, recently, when we were working on our cooperative development policy for the country, it has also been advocated that we shall create a training levy where every cooperative will contribute, and part of this money will go for research. For research, and because the university is the research organ in the cooperative movement, it will benefit from that fund, and therefore we can be able now to carry out research in the cooperative movement, solution-based research, and we're able to provide solutions to these cooperatives. So the government has agreed that when that fund goes through, they are going to create an institute, a research institute at the university, to be housed at the university and funded through that budget. And so I think this is a good way of government working together with the training institution and the cooperative movement, who will also have contributed that money so that we can make the cooperative movement in Kenya grow.
Más allá se pueden hacer muchas más cosas.
Beyond that, many more things can be done, of course, because apart from a cooperative model, apart from a legal formula or a specific business formula, it is a culture, a way of doing things that requires working on a series of values. And then on the other hand, the idea I was telling you about promoting cooperative entrepreneurship, being close, helping us to realize that the cooperative formula responds to many of the challenges we currently face as a society, and how the government promotes policies to promote entrepreneurship, and for that, cooperative training is necessary. In other words, I believe that this idea, I don't know if it has been made sufficiently clear, but here it seems that sometimes when you set up a cooperative, you set up a legal formula and that's it. I think that that is not enough. That is why I think that the educational key is very important, very, very important. You can have a certain formula, but you need people who function based on a series of values. So the educational key is something fundamental, and that is how it was understood from the beginning in our cooperative movement. We had a meeting with the director of social economy of the Basque government. He came yesterday, and he was working on the strategic plan, and they are very concerned about how we can incorporate this issue in the curricula in a more systematic way, and that it should not be left to which teacher, and well, whether it makes sense for us to talk about the subject or not, but it should be incorporated. And then, on the other hand, they talked about cooperation, the promotion of entrepreneurship, and then there's also a willingness, I believe, to contribute to the financing of training, which is also important.
Financiación de formación, que también es importante.
We have a ministry of cooperative. As you know, in Malaysian politics, this changes from time to time. At one time, the new government come up and they don't have a cooperative of the Ministry of Cooperative. We demand and the government agreed. Then they come up with a Ministry Cooperative and Entrepreneur Development. And I just back from the workshop, we had a Putrajaya Declaration, like an international declaration. We also have a declaration. Putrajaya Declaration is among the government, Apex Cooperative, and the Institute Cooperative of Malaysia. So these three agencies play an important role. So one of the best way, either from time to time, from the cooperative and the government have to sit down together and to discuss. That's what we just discussed. We will agree to have the federation to have a mentor-mentee method to help the small-scale cooperative. It's lucky for us when people understand about cooperative. It's easy to deal, because if we deal with, especially with government department, and they don't know about cooperative, and they assume cooperative is also a social enterprise, and they assume is no different, that makes the difficulty to explain. But when we get more people to understand what is cooperative and it's also different as a social enterprise, then it makes easier to move any suggestion or any changes.
Nowadays, cooperation is one of the strategic priorities of the government, which is reflected in the national projects. In this regard, the provision of grants and subsidies for the training of talented students and the support of research and development in the field of cooperation can be referred to support measures.
Many local government has a special center, the municipal government and the regional government. They set up a new kind of a governance organization on the cooperatives, or sometimes they name it as a social economy agencies, which work specially for promoting education about the social economy or the cooperative movement. So their mission is to kind of spread the identity of the cooperatives among people through the education. So that's mainly non-formal and community-based education. Many of the societal effort has been made in South Korea, but I think for the school side, it's early in stage, and we try to put more energy and money and the social interest in the school curricula. So far, it's extracurricular. It's mainly about the extracurricular, but maybe in some future, maybe in the formal curriculum also include much of the social identity of the cooperatives in the school curriculum.
Currently, in each program we conduct in the territories, we are implementing 8 of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, and one of the most important, Goal 17, where we're generating alliances in local governments, where there are municipalities, associations, where there are S-community and leaders. And we make these cooperatives work to develop sustainable development in each of their territories.
Desarrollo sostenible en cada uno de sus territorios.
At the heart of cooperative education are the internationally agreed values and principles, which are rooted in creating socially just conditions for workers, the local community and society at large. These values and principles are inherently linked to the UN Sustainable Development Goals. So to remind ourselves, sustainable development was a concept coined by Grow, Hall and Brundtland in the 1987 report, Our Common Future, where sustainable development is defined as development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. The UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres says, sustainable development also depends fundamentally on upholding human rights and ensuring peace and security. So leaving no one behind also means reducing inequalities within and among countries, reaching those most at risk and strengthen our resolve to prevent and sustain peace. Here at the Cooperative College, we have been keen to use cooperative education to teach about the SDGs in a few ways. So raising awareness of the links between SDGs and cooperatives, values and principles through short online courses such as Cooperatives and the SDGs course we run, which highlights how the different SDGs can be adapted within different types of cooperatives. Embedding the SDGs in our educational project work, such as our Youth Cooperative Action Project, where as part of our work we make the young people aware of the SDGs and how they're linked to co-ops, social action and their community. And loosely linked, but critically important, we include the SDG key indicators in our strategic planning to ensure we are walking the talk when we educate about the importance of SDGs to build a fairer world.
So with self-help and other, equity, equality, and other values, and within the principles of cooperation, sustainability follows. Our challenge is to make sure that cooperatives in fact stay true to their identity and therefore create sustainable communities.
While we can be confident in the fact that we have an excellent model through the identity statement, values and principles that aligns well with the calls to action around the Sustainable Development Goals, there's both the question of how strongly aligned are we as individual co-ops to our own statement and making sure we are as deeply committed and connected to that as we should be so that we can achieve the best outcomes and have the most impact. But I would also say that right now we're living in a very different time with many crises around us that are social, economic, and environmental. So we can't sit back and think that we're doing everything we need to without putting a bit of a different lens on it in terms of the transformation that's needed and the leadership that's needed to achieve and address the troubles that surround us and what is highlighted in the Sustainable Development Goals as a framework. So it's the combination, the fact that we have a great model, there's not a lot of inconsistency if we deliver it deeply, but we have to also be making sure that we are being bold and courageous as leaders in our cooperatives and striving to do as much as we can, whether it's talking about the climate crisis, future economic issues associated with that, or other things, whether it's troubles with lack of diversity or commitment to equity and justice in our societies.
The transition to sustainable development begins with the formation of education and the formation of a new globally sustainable consciousness. Organizations of cooperative education need to start implementing a new strategy for the global educational process that can accelerate and expand the scale of the movement towards global sustainability. It is important to transfer information and values to current and future generations of cooperators aimed at overcoming global crises, aimed at the survival of mankind and the formation of a global information society. The role of cooperative education will increase because cooperative principles, cooperative identity lie in the same plane with the goals of sustainable development. Now, we need to take an important step to include the problem of achieving sustainable development goals in its broad sense, an increasing number of programs and courses of all types and levels of cooperative education.
Children learn different ways to help our communities and protect the environment as part of our commitment to the Keep Britain Tidy Eco School scheme. In this programme, it's the children that decide what actions they want to make to support sustainability. Water, waste, litter, energy, transport, and the importance of mini beasts, plus so much more. They drive their own programme through a committee that's centred on them, understanding how the choices they make impact how they'll live in the future.
Everything Sally said about cooperative childcare, I hope you recognise as the reason why we at Mid-Counties and we across the UK are so proud, so pleased of cooperative childcare and how it is helping educate young pioneers. Thank you.
That is embedded in our spirit, in our DNA. We're gonna help SDGs a great deal. And of course, the economic ecological, sustainability of human personality, of the society formation, and of movement in all areas where human beings act, there's cooperativism there. I see that the United Nations is going to be greatly benefited from all this process through the international cooperativism movement. And I'll go beyond. We're sure to have, on a midterm basis, a Peace Nobel Prize arising from the educational process. Hopefully, all areas in agriculture, services, education, consumption, and work, across all human activities that cooperativism exists, we will be pursuing the Nobel Peace Prize through cooperativism and interchange.
The principle number 5 of the 7 cooperative principles is a very critical principle because without it, the others will not function. Because it is through the cooperative education and training that we are able to inform about the other principles, train about them, and have them implemented, and we follow up. So I really like the idea of principle number 5, and to encourage our institutions to continue fostering cooperative education and training, because it is the way to go. And I see it as the way of the future. We cannot, like in my country, work without cooperatives. And even the government is aware. So cooperatives have been recognized as the way we would make growth in our own country. And I feel good. I feel good that I belong to this sector and I participate in its work.
Dear colleagues, dear Congress participants, let me congratulate you on this meeting and wish us unity and global cooperation. There is strength in cooperation, unity in cooperation. Thank you, dear friends.
I believe cooperative is the long life learning, and we never regret when we committed and passionate in cooperative.
The panelists were perfect to show what they do in their institutions. Later, we need to join. We need to get together and bring everything we said together. Hopefully, this process is fruitful for all. If we need to change, we will. If we need to adapt, we will. Because that is our identity. That's what we are doing. We cannot be fixed. We cannot just not change ideas. And change is only allowed when it is good for all. I wish that this Congress is just the beginning of an international change in education.
Cooperação internacional na educação.